Hello, and welcome. Welcome to our live panel tonight. I'm so excited. We have a live panel where we will be discussing perimenopause and all things menopause. So I just want to introduce my lovely panel and then welcome you all. So we'll start with Lorraine. We have Lorraine from the Downsize. How are you?
Hi, good, thanks. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for coming. Thank you for joining us. We have Simply Taisha. Hello
Hello.
and welcome. And we have Mel B, the Mel B. Hello, Mel. How are you?
Hi, everyone.
Okay, thank you for being here. Thank you for being here. So I'm excited about tonight's topic because if you are a woman in your 30s until, the 50s and 60s, that's you. If you're a woman in those age ranges, so you can totally relate to these topics. And I was shocked to learn that women in their 30s, early 30s, I actually know someone in their early 30s who went through menopause, like all the way through menopause, as early as she did. And so I was shocked by that because I always thought you had to be in your 50s. I didn't even know you could, go through menopause, the whole transition in your 40s. So I have certainly learned a lot. So let's start off, ladies, by first of all, let me welcome the chat. We have, I think we have a male in the chat. I love that. I said, if you can't come, send your wives, send your daughters, send your nieces, send any woman that may be going through this transitional period in her life. So welcome. I'm glad to see you guys here. We're going to get started. We're going to start.
Oh, Shay's frozen. Downsizing Diva. Testing. Hold, please. Hold, please. Oh, there she is. Okay, good.
And so put a Q in next to your question. If you have a comment, just comment and we'll check the comments. We'll kind of stop halfway between and catch up with the comments so we don't get so far behind. But the purpose of tonight is just to share our stories, but also we want to hear from you. And hopefully, some of the treatments and strategies and techniques that we've used to help ourselves with perimenopause and menopause. Hopefully you can incorporate those, talk to your doctor about those, and hopefully they can help you as well. So let's get started. I would say whoever wants to answer first, but I know Taisha's not going to go first. So I'm just going to say, let's start with Lorraine, then we'll go to Taisha, and then we'll go to Mel, and then we'll come to me. So we'll do, kind of, is that clockwise? I think that's clockwise. All right. So the first question is, what was the first symptom that made you realize you were in perimenopause or menopause, Lorraine? What was the first?
Probably hot flashes. So I just got them at night. I would just get really hot, like it would wake me up hot. I don't know if that was first or like the irregular, periods, but I think they kind of went hand in hand there. How about you, Taisha? Oh, how about you, Mel?
Yeah, I would say the same, Lorraine.
Yeah.
Absolutely. The first iteration of menopause for me, because I was, remember, thrust into menopause through having a total abdominal hysterectomy. And as a result of that, in my 30s, I went through a surgically induced menopause.
Oh.
However, after I went through that, fast forward some years, several years ago, I started having symptoms again. So interesting.
Oh, I wonder why was that? Wonder.
Well, I ceased hormone therapy, and when I say symptoms, I'm talking like that midlife some issues with cholesterol and some other indicators that I was postmenopausal, I believe, because right now I think I'm in a different stage. I believe I am postmenopausal.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Very good. And for me, my main symptom, I would say, was an irregular cycle. That's when I knew like something is going on here. And I think I was having other symptoms, but I didn't recognize that they were perimenopausal. I just thought they were, as I'm getting older, I'm forgetting things. I was forgetting things, or, everybody I'm sure has done this at some point. You leave your keys somewhere, or like one time I was looking for my glasses were on top of my head, like things like that. And it started to happen like a little bit more frequently. But I think the irregular cycle, which is one of the symptoms you hear about a lot, I think that is the symptom that just let me know something was going on. Okay, we have Taisha again. Here we are.
Taisha.
Sorry, my dog was acting like a lunatic. So
Like a dog. No worries. What were your symptoms, Taisha? What were your first symptoms?
I had night sweats. I'm sorry. There's just, I don't know where I'm hearing this playing from. So I'm just making sure everything's closed. There we go. I had night sweats. That was the biggest thing for me. I didn't have a cycle because I had a hysterectomy in 2016. So I didn't have those symptoms to go by. So for me, it was that, the brain fog, feeling tired a lot. But some of that could have also been lifestyle, right? I want to say that the night sweats, the intense night sweats, and the brain fog were the biggest factors for me. And going to the bathroom all night.
Oh, interesting.
Now,
I don't
can
know
you?
if
Yeah, that's a symptom.
Is that a
sorry to be
symptom of
disruptive.
menopause, or is
It is. It is.
Is it?
It is a symptom of menopause, but I also know that it's a symptom of being a diabetic, which I was pre-diabetic. So a lot of these symptoms overlap, and that's why it's important to, I think, talk to your doctor or some healthcare professional, because, you're thinking it's one thing and it really is something that it's controlled by your hormones, not necessarily your lifestyle, right? So it's hard to know. It was hard for me anyway to navigate and figure out the difference between the two. So were there any symptoms that were a complete surprise to you all, Lorraine? Anything that you were like, this is odd?
You know what? I don't know. I'm 56. I don't know if everybody out there knows our ages. So I'm 56. I went through menopause really just last year at 55. Really started around 54, I guess. And it was when I started the compounded tirzepatide. I was having irregular periods and all that. I started compounding tirzepatide at the end of September, and then I got period, and then nothing. And then next time I went to my doctor, like 2 months later, she did full blood work. She's like, you're in menopause. I'm like, I thought I had to be without periods for a year. And she said, well, sometimes it just happens that way. Gee, thanks.
Really? I've never heard that. That's what fascinated me so much by your story. So so you didn't say, did you say like, are you sure? I've always heard that you had to go a whole year.
Well, I mean, I guess if you think about it, it's the levels of the hormones in your blood, right? And that's what determines on a blood test if you're menopausal. So at some point that level drops. And the only outward sign that we have as women is our menstrual cycle, right? So that's, I guess doctors just told women, don't bother me until you've, not had a cycle for 4 months. But at some point in that time, the levels drop to a point where you're in menopause. So at least that's how I justify it.
Well, yeah.
You're nodding down there.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I agree with that. In a way. So yeah, you're right. That's what doctors use, but we do know that there are early signs that we are in it. So I love what you said, that essentially the blood panels tell the story, because you're going to get a clear drop. I mean, it will be, yeah. So to me, it's the blood panels. I don't like that when women go to their doctor's primary care, OBGYN, and they say that they're feeling a certain way, they're having night sweats, brain fog, frozen shoulder, and I can go on, that those things are minimized when we know that those are signs of perimenopause. So I think that we should not be waiting for you to not have a period for a year. That should not be a thing. That
Yeah.
was made up by someone in a lab somewhere. I don't know. But yeah. So
From hundreds of years of doctors treating women and telling them,
yes.
oh, calm down, you know, don't bother me, don't call me, calm down. You know, that's what I think it kind of evolved
Me
from.
too.
Yeah.
Can I mention, okay, so when you talk about the symptoms, right, there are certain things that I didn't really recognize as odd or out of place until after I started on the hormone replacement therapy. And one of them that I was discussing with Mel recently was the fact that I would get up 4 or 5 times through the night to pee. And since I started on this, I'm still drinking a gallon of water a day, but I'm not getting up throughout the night.
Oh.
So
Interesting.
is it coincidence? I don't think so. I think that it had something to do with that. I'm just not sure what. So when I have my appointment, I will ask about that. But that's something that I noticed that went away when the intense night sweats went away. So
With the BHRT, with the hormone replacement?
yes, and this was
I
after being on it for a little bit.
Got it.
and
Yeah.
I think I'm at my optimal dose, which is the 0.1.
Yeah.
Well, we'll probably okay. I don't want to jump ahead.
I made
Sorry,
notes. Shay, are you in menopause or you're just perimenopause?
I am perimenopause. Oh yeah, so I'm perimenopause. I am not in menopause, but I track my cycles on an app because I'm going by the symptoms. But I also had a blood test, and they told me my hormone levels were low. That I'm headed that way soon, and so I tracked my cycles. I've tracked my cycles for 5+ years, maybe even longer than that, on this app called Maya, MAYA. And I also have another one called Flow, FLO. And I track my cycles on there, just like it's like a backup, right? And so the last cycle I had was August 1st of 2024. So if this is anything like my weight loss, slow and steady, I'm headed to that. I'm like that turtle headed to the finish
Coming
line.
around.
But I think I'll be one of those people because I have 2 friends that they got all the way to that, that 364th day and had a cycle. And then they were told, oh, you got to start all over again. But, I always wonder when they say start all over again, they don't give you anything. So what happens? I mean, you're technically not, labeled that you're in menopause because they don't really give you
Women
anything.
suffer. It's called suffering. It's called white knuckle it. It's called when you are done, when we're through this in 365 days, you'll be okay. So to me, I would go to the doctor and say, yeah, like, I mean, I'd have to lie and advocate for myself. There's no way that I will allow a doctor to tell me because these are insurance guidelines. These are guidelines that were made up by men. And I love men, but they don't know our bodies. And to them, they would rather invest money in how testosterone helps men with low T and libido issues than to really get the good information out to women about the Women's Health Initiative and how it was a flawed study. And, my mom was in that study. And I remember, yes, she was. And it was quite flawed for a lot of reasons. They did not use bioidentical hormone replacement therapy. They used materials from horses, believe it or not, in that study. So it's very difficult for me to respect those guidelines of you need to be out of it for a year before you get treatment. You need treatment sooner. And I think that Dr. Mary Claire Haver and many other professionals, people that Oprah has highlighted on her shows about menopause, those people are advocating. And one last thing, and I'll shut up. There recently was a study about what they call genitourinary symptoms of menopause, GSM. And if you look up GSM, it talks about all of the vaginal issues, the dryness. Sometimes you could be, as a woman, dry on the outside. I'm sorry. Yeah. No, like moist on the outside, but dry on the inside, like you have every intention of wanting to be intimate with your partner or your spouse or whomever, but it's dry inside. And then there's atrophy that stops. Another one of the GSM symptoms is the urgency. So these are things that are very important and need to be treated during perimenopause, not when we reach this arbitrary 365-day of not having a period. That just doesn't make sense. So anyway, I digress, y'all. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, I mean, that makes
I'm
total
always
sense. I
digressing.
mean, it's all about the blood work, right? It's all about the levels in your blood. So I guess if your doctor's putting you off, you can say, well, let's do a blood test and see where my estrogen levels are in my body, and if I'm, still having a
Well, one more.
cycle or not.
Well, there's one more problem with that, and that problem is that depending on where you are in your monthly cycle, you could, like my sister, have a blood test on the wrong day and your levels look okay.
Yeah.
That is a problem. That's a flaw in that model. But you're right in a way. But yeah, that's a flaw.
Along with the range, right? So you have, let's say the range is between 1 and 10. Who's to say that you didn't run closer to 10 before and now you're running closer to 1? So even that is not reliable. That's why it's good to get a baseline. And then as things progress, they can keep checking to see how that goes.
Yeah. So I guess if you get year over year blood work, you could see where you are. But it seems like I remember when I had this done, like I don't remember the intervals, but like say 1 to 3 is ovulation and 3 to 5 is luteal phase, like all the phase, you know what I mean? And like when you get to the certain, like one end of the scale is ovulating and one end of the scale is not even close, you know what I mean? So
yeah,
but
yeah,
we're not expert. We're not doctors.
Yeah, not doctor. Yeah, but that's true on the blood work. That's true.
Yeah.
That's how it's laid out. That's good
for
point.
peri, right? And we're still talking about peri. Postmenopausal, absolutely, your hormones, that level is gonna drop. So
okay.
Done.
I was thinking about post.
There's
and
no
you're
like
about
questioning.
peri,
Yeah, with the post. This is just peri.
Gotcha.
Now for perimenopause, I was researching when should you check your estrogen levels? When should you have your hormone blood test? And they say, because you brought up the testing time, if you're still cycling, testing is often done on day 3 of your cycle. So you have to be precise for it to be the most accurate. And then they said if you're perimenopausal or postmenopausal, it doesn't matter. It can be done at any time. So this is before you hit that stage.
I think when I turned 50, I started thinking, when is this going to end? Like, what? So I started telling my doctor, like, what is happening? When am I going to hit menopause? And she's like, I don't know. Let's test your levels. So she had been running them for a while by the time I got to age 54 and this kind of happened. But, I was just like, can I please be done with this now? I've had 3 kids. I'm done. I'm done with my tubes are tied. Like, can we just do I need to take it all out? Like I had no clue, right?
Yeah.
I want to say, because we're talking about symptoms that surprised you. The only thing that surprised me was that I did this research and over 50, there is 100. I just focused on 50 symptoms of perimenopause, and I just thought that's most of what I'm dealing with on a day-to-day basis, since I was in my early 40s. So, and like I said, a lot of that stuff I just thought it was getting old. But one of the things that I didn't realize until I did that, research and then talking more with Mel, and she really is an advocate for this, but the vaginal dryness, I said, I don't want to go there. I don't ever want to have vaginal dryness. So whatever Mel takes, order 15 of those for me.
Yeah, I don't think anybody wants that downsizing Diva.
Yeah.
So that's shocking because I didn't know. I thought when you get older, but I was thinking older, 60, 70. I wasn't thinking older, in your 40s and 50s, So yeah, that's enough to get me on something.
Prevention, get started before you get there.
Right. Yes. That's what I'm advocating for, because literally my neighbor who lives across the street, my sister, one of my employees, every woman around me is going through either perimenopause or they're menopausal. And quite frankly, I'm tired of them because they're annoying the hell out of me because they're freaking, and I'm like, would you please take some estradiol, please? But yeah, so I think,
Well, okay, let it
Thais,
be noted, Mel, that I don't complain to you about my symptoms. But if I say I'm hot, Mel's like, I was like, Mel, I'm hot because it's 90 degrees. Okay.
well, this is the deal. We all know that you don't grow estradiol back, right? You will have vaginal atrophy. You will have dryness. Your skin dries. You look older sooner. There are a lot of issues.
We don't want
And
that.
remember, guys, this whole idea of what not having enough estradiol does, it extends to high LDL cholesterol.
Yee.
It literally is tied to, in clinical studies, not a scientist, triglycerides being too high, the good cholesterol being too low. So all the things, right? I have a list over here. Calcium, bone mineral over time, so that by the time you turn 70, you're going to progressively lose more bone calcium because of the lower levels of estradiol in your body. So there are things we're not even talking about. Visceral fat, right? Visceral fat, which was one of my issues. So yeah.
Well, I think women always talk about, oh, I've got the menopause belly, the visceral, that's
Yeah.
one of the things I hear people say all the time. Oh, I gained weight I gained 10 pounds and I can't lose it when I went through menopause. So, but I didn't know all the other things.
Affecting your sex drive?
Sex drive for sure. I literally had a big old party at my house with 4 of my closest friends, and they were sitting here, and I was like, they were talking about all of that with the husbands and all of this, and I'm thinking, wow. And I do think, Dee Dee, you said that men need to hear this conversation, and I agree with you.
For sure. And that leads us into my next question. I was going to talk about how has perimenopause or menopause affected your relationships with your husbands, with your family, your children, because you often hear about, and I've noticed I am a little bit moody at times and irritable at times, and I didn't know what I was irritated about. And so who knew that was a symptom of perimenopause, so I just feel bad because I'm like, geez Louise, I get irritated. And sometimes I don't even know why I'm irritated. So how has it affected you guys? Because I'm single and ready to mingle. So it's not affecting my relationships yet.
I don't know that I'm irritated. I kind of go from 0 to enraged, like that, like that. And so I don't know. Sometimes things will just. I get to a point where I've just had enough and the lid explodes, right? So I don't know if that's, or I don't know if you get to a point as you get older where you're just like, I'm done with this. I'm mad as hell and I'm not going to take it anymore. Maybe that's just me, y'all.
Patients are very thin. Yeah, yeah. So I do a lot of isolation because I do find that it doesn't take much. As long as I'm not reactive, right? Like I just don't want to be reactive. So if I'm in a situation and something is really getting on my nerves, as long as I can maintain my composure, I'm okay. And so it's isolation. But yeah, my fuse is definitely shorter, but not where I want to do something about it. It's just, okay, I'm done with this. So I kind of go to that really quickly. And I think that at least it seems like it could be a symptom. Moodiness, off and on my life. So I can't really blame menopause for that. But I think, my husband just said, you?
He's like,
yeah.
Yeah.
My husband left the house for this conversation. Like he got
really.
So some of you guys may know my husband, Christopher Durham. He's like, yeah, I got nothing on that. I'll see you later. I'm like, what? Where are you going? So
here's this. Yeah.
My sex drive
For me, I'm very even keeled. Just to but BHRT, again, I was on it when I first had the surgical menopause, and then fast forward, I didn't know I couldn't be on it for longer than the time I was on it after the total abdominal hysterectomy. I literally didn't know. And then I started talking to my mom, And she was like, yeah, you can. And then and then of course, you guys know I fired the doctor. I got a doctor that advocates for me. And then I got back on it. So my story is slightly different in that way.
What's
And yeah.
BHRT? What's
Oh,
BHRT?
bioidentical hormone replacement therapy. Yeah.
What am I on? I'm on.
You're on it.
Oh,
Estradiol, right?
Yeah, the estradiol, is that bioidentical?
Yes.
But there are two different
Estradiol.
kinds. It's BHRT and then it's a HRT. We can get into that
Yes.
a little bit later.
Okay.
The difference between the two.
You thought they were just same.
I just don't have much information. Like, I copied and pasted my CVS prescriptions because I wanted to talk about what I was taking intelligently, because my doctor was like, here, I'll write you this, and you put the patch on twice a week, and then you take the progesterone every night. And I'm like, all right, seemed to help. But I haven't really, I don't really know much about them, right? I should, but I don't. It's like I don't know. It's like I don't really know how the tirzepatide works, but it works.
Well, yeah, that's why you trust your doctor. That's why they should be, doing their due diligence to take care of us, because we're trusting them, So we'll talk about that before we get into that, because that's a great question, because I know that comes up a lot in the chat, and I didn't think people knew the difference, and I didn't know the difference. I had to figure it out and learn about it. But before we talk about that, I wanted to talk about, we're talking about your doctor, but anybody's doctor, but did your doctor dismiss your concerns? I think, Lorraine, you kind of hit on it, and, we know how Mel feels about it too, but we hear a lot of women say that, the doctor tells them they're, it's just getting older. You're not officially in menopause yet, so you'll be fine. They don't really give you anything. They tell you to take. I was told to take they don't call it Advil, but what is Advil called? What's the technical name? Ibuprofen. Yes.
Oh.
I was told to take that, for my little pains or whatever. But yeah, they don't really give you anything. So what's your and I didn't go to my primary care doctor. I went to my gynecologist because I figured she specializes in this area. So I would, I take advice from her. Guidance, I should say, from her.
Mm-hmm.
I can talk about that. I initially went in discussing the lack of sex drive, right? And so then I was told, because I have bipolar disorder, it's probably, now not by my psychiatrist, by the primary care doctor at the VA. She was like, oh, well, it's probably just your moods. And then she suggested some kind of, it starts with a B, something root, right? Some natural something. I'm not interested in that. I'm like, can we just run some tests? So it took me over a year to even get her to do that. And I just kept pressing the issue. Like, that's what I just kept talking about. So finally, I was able to get that referral, and then I was able to see a gynecologist. But like, we're talking about a total of 2 different providers over 3 years that didn't take it seriously. It was the whole, you're getting older, or, I was overweight. So a lot of that, I was led to believe that it was just my self-image, so if I were to get
if you
more
just diet and exercised a little bit,
that fixes everything, right? But here I am, 57 pounds down, and still it's not even that things, that just a lack of desire, right? I'm only 47. I've not had anything, traumatic that would have caused, that should cause this, other than it being a hormonal thing. So that Uvafem, that's where it's at to help, but it doesn't, none of this still has given me back the desire. So I'm still working on that.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So that is interesting. Thanks for sharing that. So we may as well go here, since we're talking about treatments and solutions. So tell us what, if anything, you all have tried. So HRT, Lorraine just had talked about that. Or did you try supplements? Anyone? Like, I'm trying the natural remedies. So I'm a natural remedy lady, and I haven't ventured out into anything else yet. But I really feel like I don't know that I need it. I'm one of those people. I would have to really be like, wake up and like sweat and can't function to say I need some medication. I've just always been like that. So I'm trying to move away from that. But like I said, when I meet this fine husband and I reach that vaginal part that's not too cool, then I'm gonna be running. Now I'm gonna be running. I don't care if it's 2-3 miles to the doctor to get something.
And it takes months, Dee Dee. So
Oh,
if you wait until it's bad, it's not something where you can go and like that, it's going to be fixed. It's going to take time.
Right.
You're still in that white knuckle mentality where
Well,
I'm
and
just going to
that's
tough
exactly
it out.
That's a lot like the diet and exercise mentality, right?
Yeah.
That's a lot like, oh, I can do this on my own.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll take
Yes.
berberine or, phentermine or,
Yeah.
that's not natural.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like maybe
Yes.
maybe I haven't tried hard enough. Does that sound
Right.
familiar to anybody, especially when it
Oh,
comes
yeah,
to
with
the
GLP-1s
weight
loss,
and
for
weight loss?
sure.
For
Like,
sure.
Yeah.
Once we found these GLP-1s, right, it was like, boom, the missing piece.
Missing
we
link.
never
Why
knew
didn't we
we
know about
needed.
this sooner?
Right. And I kind of
Right.
feel like that with the BHRT or the HRT. And
HRT.
it's like,
Yeah.
oh, why didn't I ask about this sooner? I've been having these like
Yeah.
hot flashes at night for a long time. Like if, so I'm all for better living through modern medicine personally, especially after discovering GLP-1s, because, like we know obesity, it's not our fault.
Right.
These medications are tools. Menopause, it's
Not our fault.
really not our fault. It's just something that happens to us. So what are the
Yeah.
tools that we have available that can help us, all along our journey? And I know, Dee Dee, you mentioned your doctor was not 100% on board with medication the patch and stuff like that. So, what does somebody do if their doctor really says, "Oh no, you don't need that," or "No, you're fine. Like, calm down." What do you?
Well,
What do you
someone
do?
else.
I think you find
Fire them.
Yeah, I think you find another doctor. So that's not the doctor that I go to for all things related to, my female part. So,
Okay.
when I was experiencing the irregular cycle, that irregular cycle is really the only thing other than like being hot. And when people have described, this is another reason why I'm not so, saying, thinking I need something, because people have described their hot flashes. It's nothing like I'm experiencing. People have told me, I've seen one of my friends, she's in her 60s. She carries a fan around with her everywhere she goes. And she almost has like a little bit of a panic attack, anxiety when she's having a hot flash where she has to get up, go out. She cut all her hair off. She's done all these things. She says she wakes up in a pool of, her bed is wet. She had to sleep in a separate room. So I'm not experiencing that. So in my mind, I'm thinking, well, I'm not that bad. So that's what I was thinking. But what was really bad for me was having an irregular cycle. But I realized that is just an experience you're going to go through until that menopause happens. But what I did was I said to my my doctor, I said, I want to, have my blood levels checked, which she did. My gynecologist, not my primary care, that's against it, the HRT. And I also said, I want a biopsy because I want to make sure nothing is going on with my insides, So she did a biopsy. Well, I'm going to tell you, I thought that was the most prehistoric procedure I ever had done. I was like, why don't they numb you or anything else? And she just told me to take
for a biopsy.
I did, because I wanted to make sure nothing was going on. And it was the most painful procedure. And to top it off, she had a student there that was trying to do it and couldn't get it. And so then she came in. And so it was just like, but I was thinking the whole time I'm laying there, like, why don't I have like something to numb me? I just thought it was not, it was bad. So I had that done. So, I am, if I think something is going on, I'm going to ask for a test and I'm going to go to get to the person that's going to give it to me to see what's going on. So I guess for me, I haven't felt like I needed it. Trust me, if I felt like I needed it, I would get it. I just have not felt like I need it. I don't think a hot flash for me. Now, the whole vaginal thing, I'm just saying that. I don't know that I haven't had that experience either. I'm just saying that would be the thing. You know what I'm saying? Like that would be the thing that would make me, like you might say, the thing that would make me get a new car is A, B, and C. I'm saying the thing that would make me flush all these thoughts to the side is if something was going on downstairs.
Hey, can I just add something? So there are a lot of unseen symptoms. There are two things I want to call attention to. The first one I'll say, we can move on from that one. And that is, sometimes you don't know what you don't know. You don't know how good you can feel because you have nothing to compare it to. That's number one. The second thing I want to say is that some of the symptoms, they're not, I won't even call them symptoms. They are just a result of having low estradiol. And they are not things you can necessarily touch, like sweat. You can't necessarily touch them. We know that as your body drains itself of estradiol, that there are things that are happening internally. We know that even if you're on a GLP-1, if you put two people next to each other and one is on hormone replacement therapy and the other is not, we know based on studies that the one who is not is probably losing slower. The one who is not is probably struggling more when it comes to bone mineral density and things like that. So there are a lot of things that are unseen. And then there are a lot of things that are just to come. We know the aging process. We know it impacts LDL cholesterol, the good, and then also the good cholesterol. So there are a lot of things that just, again, you can't touch. And my sister, for a long time, was like, oh, it's not, it's just my shoulder. She had frozen shoulder. There are a lot of things. And she was like, I'm not having night sweats, until she was. And then she's like, holy crap. But I never really had night sweats that were debilitating. I had them and I didn't know what it was after, like, several days after my surgery, which completely removed everything. Makes sense, right? But I do look back and I think, wow, if I knew what I knew now back then, I would probably be in a lot better shape. My bone density would probably be better. It's gotten better over the past year or two. But yeah, so I just want to put that out there. And again, but I am that one that when they ask me what my pain level is from 1 to 10, I'm like 10, because I know myself and I have a high threshold for pain, and we need to not do that to ourselves as women. We need to keep it real. And sometimes if you say, oh, like a 5, then they don't respect your pain. And I want them to. Yeah. Right, exactly. They don't take it seriously. So, but anyway, I just wanted to put that out there, Dee. So
another thing I thought of, cold flashes.
No, you're right. I'm not going to know how I would feel, but I'm feeling pretty good now. So I'm okay.
That's good.
Have any of you ever had cold flashes?
Cold flashes?
Yeah. Cold flashes?
Yeah.
I do.
Well,
I don't talk
know
about that enough. That's miserable. That's to me worse than waking up in a pool of sweat. I would almost go into like a panic attack because I'd be just out of nowhere start shivering and I was just really, really cold. And my husband
started taking Zepbound?
Yeah.
This was before Zepbound?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's happened to me sometimes at night too. Like before GLP-1, like I'd get into bed and be like kind of shivering. And is that a thing?
It is.
Temperature regulation seems to be something that has to do with some hormone that I'm assuming has been replenished by being on these meds. And so I did bring them here in case anybody wanted to see. That's the Uvafem.
Is that the vaginal?
Yes.
Yeah, I have that. Vagifem, though. Mine is called Vagifem.
And then I just wanted to show people.
Is that a cream, Taisha?
So it's they're like these suppositories, and there's a pill, like a tablet. And so you
birth
put
control
it in
size.
Yeah, like a little tiny tablet. Can you guys?
Oh, okay.
Yes,
like
I
right
have
there
that
at
too.
the top. And then I have this gel that you're supposed to get 10 doses out of.
Testosterone.
Yeah. And then the patch, which is the estradiol.
I got that.
I have all of that, except for, unlike Taisha, I have Evamist, which is a spray that you spray in, like, here on your elbow. You spray it there instead of the patch, just because I didn't want to deal with the patch. So it's actually a spray called Evamist, and that's what I use for estradiol. And then, like Taisha, the Vagifem, exactly the same, except for mine is a blue tube. It's called Vagifem. And that, I started out, Taisha, I don't know about you, but I used it for 14 days straight. And then I went to 2 days a
Yes,
week.
and it's twice a week. So I do it the same day that I do my patch.
And it just, everything is moist. You stay juicy. It's nice. It's a nice feeling, right? And then the testosterone, I have the exact same testosterone, and I put a pea size of that on daily as well. It's great.
Interesting. So you're telling me there's a mist I could have instead of this patch?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
I would do a mist before a patch and a heartbeat.
Right?
Yeah.
What? How come nobody told me
I'll
about
send you a
this?
picture.
Evamist. All right. I'm
I'll
writing
send
this
you a
down,
picture.
Evamist.
I'm asking at the next appointment.
EVA.
Yeah. No, Evan.
Yes.
I got like, yeah, that'd be better than a stupid patch, because when you're in the shower, it like, you're like,
Exactly.
it's all like,
So you
it's
change
gunky
the
around
patch?
it.
Do you change it every day? The
No,
patch?
it's twice a week.
Sunday and
Oh,
I do Sunday and Wednesday. So, and then sometimes I forget because, I'm busy. I got other things to think about.
Yeah.
But I don't even remember to take my progesterone every night. Like, I think I forgot to take it last night. Like, it's all new. It's all like.
And as a reminder for ladies who are listening, if you don't have a uterus, you don't need progesterone.
Right.
Progesterone is great for sleep, but it is also, and it's paired with estradiol, but it is also very protective of your uterus. So if you're a woman and you're on estradiol and you have a uterus, you must have progesterone along with the estradiol. I mean, most doctors who specialize in this know that, but just in case, I just thought I'd mention that.
Yeah.
That's a good point. That's a good point, because it's different for those with and without uterus. Uteri.
Yep.
What's the plural?
Uteri. Our uteri.
I think I just made that up. And I was going to say about the hot flashes, like I've seen the women, like when it comes on and they start sweating and they it's like they're on fire, right? But for me, it was more like I was just hot. Like my skin would be hot. My whole body would just be hot. Not even like sweating, just very hot. And I'd be like, oh, Christopher, I'm having this, hot thing or whatever. And I remember he reached over and touched my arm or my leg or something. He goes, oh, you're actually hot. And I'm like, did you think I was just like, it was all made up in our head?
Yes.
Like, yeah. He's like,
Yeah.
I don't know. How am I supposed to know? So I thought that was interesting that from his point of view, he didn't expect that I would actually be hot during a hot flash. Anyway, another
Well,
aside.
that's good. I hear me. I'm like checking my arm, like to see if I'm hot.
You're like,
Yeah, I'm actually.
Okay, so since we're talking about the different medications, so let's talk about the difference between the BHRT and the HRT. And I know this is male specialty.
I was gonna say that's Mel. That's all Mel.
So I'm just going to tell you, this is what I learned because I'm excited. And when you learn something new and you repeat it, that's how you remember it. So when I was doing my research, Mel, the BHRT, I was like, what is that B for? Well, so I didn't realize this is plant-based. So the BHRT is plant-based, and it's chemically identical to your human hormones, whereas the traditional one, which sounds like Lorraine is on, is synthetic or animal-derived hormones. So that's kind of like one of the big differences. Because I thought, okay, so how come women aren't opting for this BHRT more? And so it says that, it's customized. So so you would have to have
compounded.
Right. You have to have special kind of insurance. It says it's custom compounded for each patient. So they basically, it's designed for you, right? Which is what compound pharmacies were doing even before GLP-1s. And so those are the biggest things I would say, the differences between the two. They both have risks. With the BHRT, it says some risks are like blood clots, strokes, and cancers, but slight. It's not like a high risk. Like you were talking about earlier with your risk, you said I take the 2% over a chance over not having some of these symptoms. And then they said, the same risk with the traditional HRT. And then the other thing is cost. It's, of course, the BHRT is more expensive. It's often, I think this is the important part, it's often not covered by your insurance. It can be, but it sounds like you would have to have that Cadillac insurance to get it covered. And of course, the traditional HRT is covered by your insurance. So
yeah, I can get the
Lorraine, you're on estradiol though, right? Because estradiol.
Estradiol 0.05 milligram patch.
Okay, you're on estradiol. You might not be on enough unless it's working for you right now, but
yeah, I mean, I've thought about asking to go up in the dose, but that's not bio-identical, right? That's a synthetic.
Estradiol is. Estradiol
is bio-identical? Oh,
yes, it is. Yes, it is.
Does your insurance pay for that, Lorraine?
Do what?
Does your insurance pay for that? The one you're taking?
Yeah, so I have insurance that covers like nothing, right? So I get it's a generic version. I guess this is the generic version, the estradiol. It's a generic version. I think I pay $25 for a 90-day supply. So it's not, it's not bad.
Wow.
I mean, after paying for, tirzepatide, Zepbound, there's not a whole lot of money for other for other medications. So, but I thought that this was pretty affordable actually. So that's, that's why I'm doing it. Yeah. But if I had to go to a compounder and a special and a blah blah, like if it was going to cost, like my compounded tirzepatide costs, I'd just be like, I don't know.
No.
Is it that much better? Do I need to spend the extra? Like, what do you think, Melby? Is it worth spending?
No, it's not that much more expensive. I have the Evamist, so I do pay a little bit more, but it's not, it works out to be probably, because remember, I have Evamist. Back in the day, I had a patch, but the Evamist lasts for so long. It lasts for like, I don't know, 2 months. And so I have 3 of those. So they gave me 3 of them in one prescription. And I think it was like $200 for the 3. So it's really not that expensive.
And you spray it every day, right? And you don't spray
I spray every day. Yeah.
Spray every day. All right.
I'm going to take, I'll
you
text
spray
it to
both
you.
arms every day?
No, just one arm. I do 2 sprays on each here on my upper arm. I just alternate every day.
Okay.
Interesting.
See, that I would take. That seems very Downsizing Diva friendly. Yes, a spray every day. A spray every day. I love that.
So you're just on one of the generic forms, Lorraine, but you are taking estradiol, and estradiol is indeed bioidentical.
Gotcha.
So just putting that out there.
I'm learning a lot this evening. Learning a lot.
We all are.
So I just saw we had a super chat pop up. So let's pop on over. All right, we have does that say it's a new day?
It's a new day.
Red dress, I love it. What's the panel's thoughts about hormone pellets? Great and informative info, ladies. Thanks for sharing. Thank you. So does anybody know anything about those hormone pellets?
We know Mel does.
Mel to the beat.
Mel. Tell us about it, Mel.
Well, I'm just going to say, essentially, they take little pellets of balls of testosterone, and this is specific to testosterone. They make a little incision right above your buttocks, like on your hip area, and they implant the pellets. And then they are kind of time released into your body over a 90-day period of time, let's say, or 60 days in some case, or 6 months in some cases, but I believe the standard may be 90 days. The problem with that is that it is very hard to know how your body is going to metabolize, let's just call it metabolize those pellets, and how it's going to release into your system, which can cause very severe symptoms if it's too much for your body. When you are taking testosterone, like Taisha and I are taking, which is a pea size, and it is very cheap, by the way, it's like $100 and something a year, because you take 1/10 of what a man does. So it's a little tube, like Taisha said, it has 10 doses. you can regulate that. If you use too little, there you go. If you use too little and you get your next hormone panel, you're going to know, because your testosterone is not going to have risen the way it normally should. And so your doctor might recommend a teeny bit more, maybe 2 pea sizes. I doubt that. But the pellets, the problem is, and it is very well known, that you cannot regulate how your body disperses it. And then you don't know, I don't know, you might have excessive hair somewhere. And I've never had anything like that. And I've been on testosterone therapy for a year. I don't have any extra hair. I don't shave. My voice has not deepened. I tend to have somewhat of a kind of higher voice anyway, but even if my voice did deepen, that's probably something I could live with. But the pellets, I would be very careful. There's no need. And you do have these specialists that are like putting pellets in women. I just don't agree with it. I personally don't like it, but it's a personal choice. It's too random for me. So that's my 2 cents.
Yeah, that's interesting. We did a news story on our channel, The Downsized, about they were testing putting GLP-1s in a pellet form, and the problem is the dosing, like you were saying, like how does your body metabolize it? Is it fast, slow? Like, since it was really hard, a difficult delivery system. So that's all I know about pellets.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Now, I thought this is an interesting fact to me, and so hopefully it is to you guys, but it says your typical estrogen levels. If you are pre-menopause, menopausal, so in premenopausal women, it's 30 to 400 pictograms per milliliter. But when you're postmenopausal, this is how much it drops. It's 0 to 30. So look at how much you are losing.
I was.
Louise.
Yeah. Yeah. And
Significant.
it's, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Taisha.
No, I just said it's significant.
Very. And I'm post. Let's just consider me post. I am post. So the conversation with my doctor, because remember, I was on a patch and progesterone when I initially had the surgery to remove everything. I have no uterus. I have no fallopian tubes. I have no cervix. I have nada, nothing, zilch. Hello, like literally. Okay. Nothing.
Yeah.
The thing is though, is that it's funny because my ex used to say, can you put your testicles away, please? That was back in the day when I got and I was like, get out of here, but whatever. So my point, what was I trying to say? See? Oh, I was going to say that, what was the question again? I just cracked myself up. What was the question? Brain fog. Okay.
About having
I need to increase.
All removed. Everything's removed.
Oh, having it all removed.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I guess what I was saying is, I don't remember the level. So I have nothing. So my body was not making it. And at the time I was too young to understand that I needed it and why. So I was like, okay, she's like, I'm taking you off of it after 9 months, the estrogen and progesterone. And then fast forward to my 40s, and I'm like talking to people and they're taking it and they're looking good and feeling good and, not, aging backwards and all the things. And I was like, I got to get some of that. And I talked to my doctor about it initially, and remember, fired her, went to my current doctor, and we put me back on it. And this, in combination with the GLP-1s, it got me straight. It got me straight. It is just a recipe for wellness. And when I look at you, Lorraine, like, you don't look your age. We're about the same age, you and I. Taisha does not look her age. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
All of and I could tie it to hormone therapy. I could tie my strength, my vitality, the way I feel. Lorraine, when I saw you in person a couple of weeks ago, chef's kid, gorgeous.
You're so sweet.
And strong and happy and chill. Taisha, we already know, so those are things that you can't touch, right? You can't touch those things. You can just describe them to people and explain how great you feel. So I wanted some more of that, and I got placed back on it, and I'm healthy. I don't have any issues with clots. 1%, 2% chance, by the way. So when they tell you oh, it causes blood clots. That's the same percentage. That 1 or 2% is the same as if you were on birth control pills. And a lot of people were on those for many, many years.
Yeah.
So it's not anything, but you do need to see a doctor. This is not for everyone. I do believe it's for the vast majority of women, but you need to see your doctor.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, very good. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, so let's talk about well, we have a super chat. We have Miss Geraldine. Hello,
Yay.
hello. Thank you, Geraldine. She's so supportive. Thank you for being here. Now, I saw she made a comment, so I'm going to read her comment. She said, I had several DNCs. You guys know what a DNC is. And once
Yeah.
I was told I had a mass and needed surgery, but when they went to do surgery, it was nowhere to be found. Strong
Wow.
faith.
Wow.
Yes, I love that. I used to hear about women having DNCs. If you had a heavy cycle, I know people who've had that in the past from having a heavy cycle.
I never did.
That was brought up to me, and
I had that from a
heavy bleeding.
miscarriage.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
thought
I've
that was
only had
related
That's
to
what I.
miscarriage, or
Yeah.
is it could be other things too? I don't know.
I
I
didn't know
think
that. I
I
just
think
thought
they
it had to
was
do
doing
with
it for other things too.
Yeah. Maybe so. Maybe so. I somehow got on a Reddit thread the other day when looking for menopause facts, a Reddit thread of women that had or are having very heavy cycles to the point of needing to go to the bathroom every hour, change the pads or tampons or whatever, like so fast. And I
Yeah.
wonder if I wonder if people realize what's normal and when you should see a doctor about something like that. Because I think if I had it to that extreme level, like what would I do? You know what I mean? I know this isn't kind of related, but it is
That's
kind
good.
of related because some people
It
end up
is.
with a
I think it is.
hysterectomy because of this problem, right? Or am I
That's why I got the
making
No, that's true.
hysterectomy.
It's one of the most common symptoms that people have. And I think that's because we know it's connected to your female parts, right? You might think like brain fog and hot flashes and all that could be connected to some outside, environmental influences, but your cycle is connected to your female parts. And so this was my experience. I had the heavy cycles and I would have to go even before an hour was up. And I had on a tampon, I had on a super pad, I had a super tampon. I wanted a super plus, but I hear you shouldn't even probably have a super on. But and then I would put like paper towels. I mean, I was just loaded up, and I still would be soaked, and I would feel it, and I'd be like, this can't be like a cycle. And I go in the bathroom, and it was just soaked everywhere. I couldn't go to work because I work with little ones. They'd be terrified they saw an accident like that. And so it was just so bad, and that's what made me ask for the biopsy, because I thought this is not normal. Yeah, that's what made me ask. And then she said, but what happened was I wasn't having cycles for like 4 months at a time. So I went from, because I've been monitoring my cycle. So I went from having a cycle every 28 days. I could, it was clockwork, to I started skipping, a month here and a month there. Then it would be like 4 months at a time, then 3 months at a time, and then 4 months at a time. And she told me, she said, that's normal. And she said, if you haven't had a cycle for 4 months, she says, when you do have one, you're going to have a heavy cycle. And I said, this is beyond heavy. I said, I just want to make sure nothing is going on just to, be at peace with myself. So that's when I asked for the not the DNC, but the biopsy.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think back to, so I've had 3 children. At the third, I got tubes tied at the C-section. Like, let's just go ahead and wrap that up. And then, but my cycle got really, really, really heavy to the point of I was having a problem like that. And my doctor suggested to put me on a birth control pill as a first measure before we did anything, maybe surgical or anything like that. So we went that route, and that really helped. But then at some point I'm like, okay, so now I'm 50 and I've had my tubes tied and I'm on this birth control. Like, when is this gonna all like So I stopped taking the birth control pill, and that's kind of when my cycles got irregular. Because I guess if you're on the pill, it's just going to regulate.
Yeah.
That's what it does. I don't know why I'm telling you all this. It just seemed appropriate.
But it's good. Yeah, it's good because that's what it is. It's hormones, right? That's what the birth control pill is. So like you said, it's regulating. And not only that, I think that once you got off of the pill is when your body was allowed to take its natural course and put you into menopause. I don't know if it was tied to the GLP-1 after all, but I just thought I'd mention that.
Yeah, I mean, I talk about the GLP-1 a lot, and then I get a lot of comments with people saying, well, you were 53 or 4 and it was time and blah, blah. So, who knows? Who knows if one thing caused the other or they just happened simultaneously? Hard to say. But those birth control pills are hormones. They do things, they definitely regulate the cycle.
They regulate your cycle. Yeah, for sure.
I was not on those.
I'm 52. How old are you, Lorraine?
You weren't?
I'm 56. Am I the oldest one?
Taisha, how old are you?
47.
47. And how old are you, Mel?
I'm 57.
57. Okay.
See, I've never heard Mel tell her age before.
No, I just wouldn't guess that, you guys.
I said it.
I know.
I
I just it's hard to believe.
You cannot look your age and not be taking any of these two, because I don't think I look 52 at all. Because you said, they don't look their age. I don't think you have to not be.
You either. Yeah, I meant you. I was just talking about them because they're on it.
Oh, I know.
Of course, you look gorgeous,
girl, because they're on it. But I'm just saying, you don't have to be on it. I mean, you cannot be on it and still not look your age. I just want to get
drink your water.
Didi want to clarify.
Yes, I do. I do. Okay, let's go to the chat really quick, and then we'll talk about the GLP-1 of it all. Okay, so Simply Bank said, labs normal, 46 years old, cycle 100% consistent every 28 days. Then started Zepbound, no cycle for 4 months, normal labs, not in menopause. Okay, very good. All right, so Zepbound, no cycle for 4 months. I wonder if that related. I wonder if will do studies on that.
What's an ablation? Oh, sorry.
Uterine ablation?
Yeah, what is that?
Yeah.
A friend of mine had that. Go ahead, Mel.
No. I was going to say, I think what it is when there's like air that is blown into the uterus, into the uterine cavity. What was her indication? Why did she have that?
Someone in the chat was talking.
Say that.
Oh, you're talking to citation?
No, you said someone in the chat mentioned it.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I had a friend who had it done, and it was one of those things that I
Me
didn't
too,
feel
but
like
I
I
don't.
could ask questions about when she was telling.
Same.
You know what I mean? But I think if the heavy period had progressed and my birth control pill hadn't taken care of it, the next step would be this ablation, where I think they go in and
clean I think, and the person in the chat can confirm that they do something with the lining of the uterus. It's to treat the lining of the uterus. So sometimes I think there's like buildup and stuff. So I believe
like not flush it out, but kind of like maybe
I think I should Google it.
I'm looking it up right now.
I Googled it.
You are? Okay.
Ablation is a medical procedure that destroys or removes body tissue. It's often used to treat various conditions, including irregular heartbeats, tumors, and heavy menstrual bleeding. Ablation can be performed using heat, cold, radio frequency, or surgical methods. So you weren't too far off. That was
maybe next time we'll get a doctor to.
Prolonged period.
So if we have our questions, we could just I'll get Dr. Sowa to come on maybe, and she can give us all
Here. So really quick about that, right? So the purpose that I have here is it's used to treat heavy or prolonged periods when other treatments like medication haven't worked. Candidates are typically offered to premenopausal women who don't plan to have more children, since the procedure reduces or eliminates the ability to become pregnant. And it's not a hysterectomy. The uterus remains intact, but the lining is removed or destroyed.
Oh, so I guess that's, because
makes sense.
When you have your period, it's the lining coming off, right? So if you don't have a lining, you don't
Steady.
have a period. Done.
Yeah.
Definitely. If you want to have kids, that's not the way to
You
Yeah.
go.
want to do, yeah.
Probably not reversible after they kind of wipe that.
And that was an option I was given. And I was like, no. So if you're giving me the option, take it all. And I have my ovaries. So they took everything else and they took the cervix because I was like, he asked me if I wanted that they could leave it, but I would still have to get pap smears. No, take it. Take it
Yeah.
all. So
Bye.
yeah.
Bye, cervix.
Now they say that procedure can be done in one day. Like you can, go home and the same day. It sounds traumatic.
Yeah.
It
In
could be
August.
getting long.
Yeah.
Unless you're having a lot of discomfort, you would stay overnight, they say. But yeah, I just thought, geez, Louise, it sounds like something that you would need. It would need attention for more than just the day.
You would think so.
A couple of people in the chat say ablation is heat to destroy the lining. It burns the uterus lining to thin it.
Yes,
Yeah.
they do heat. There's freezing, which is cryoablation, microwave energy, radio frequency energy, and laser. So there's different ways. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different
Wow.
ways.
All right.
So this question in the chat says, what if you had a utero ablation and don't have a period? How do you check for menopause when they haven't been doing blood tests to compare?
I don't know about the comparison, but you do need a blood test. They
Yeah.
can still test.
Well,
They
I
can still test.
That's where they can still test where your levels are now, right?
And they lean
Yes.
into symptoms. So you can't always tell with perimenopause, right, by your hormones. Because like we've talked about, the different
That's
times
true.
of the month, and then your baseline now could be different than it was 10 years ago, but
Mhm.
they're using your symptoms. This is based off of my symptoms. It's not like I'm extremely deficient in estrogen, but this helped my symptoms. So some doctors are willing to do that. All of them are
And
not.
some are not.
Yeah.
That's the problem. Yep.
Gotcha.
And we're blessed. All of us are blessed that our
Yeah.
doctors were able to look out. That's one thing we have in common. Many of the things we don't, but a lot we
Right.
do, is that we had physicians that were advocating for us and listened to our needs, right?
Eventually.
So, and we wouldn't take, no, eventually,
Yeah.
right? Yeah, eventually.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, that's a similar situation I find with I've talked to a lot of people who have gone on a GLP-1, and some of their doctors, they'd never heard of it. Their doctors just offered it. Like, hey, your A1C is a little high. You're maybe 30 pounds, 50 pounds overweight. Maybe you should try Mounjaro. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like, whereas others have never heard of it. We had to go in search of it. Our doctor wouldn't even talk about it. So it's really, yeah, if your doctor brings it up, that's great. But a lot of people have to go off on their own quest.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah. I had somebody, and Dee Dee knows this. I had somebody very recently who's very well known in the GLP-1 space, who I sent a DM to. And she was like, literally, I just kind of told her my story very briefly, and I told her what I was on and who my doctor was, blah, blah, all the stuff. And she was like, you need to get, I don't believe this, but she said, you need to get paid for this information. What can I do for you? I'm desperate. And so I reached out to my doctor and talked to my doctor. My doctor does not treat folks that are not in Florida, but she was able to give me a couple of people in this person's state. Yeah. And this is a high kind of, I would say, high profile person. Dee Dee probably would say that too, but yeah. So you don't know a lot of times when people are suffering around you and things are going on with them that may be tied to menopause, but people are desperately trying to get support. So you have to advocate for yourself. I am an advocate. If anybody wants to send me a message or something and ask me anything I can talk to you about, I will be more than happy. I really am an advocate. So just thought I'd say that. Not a creator, don't want to be a creator, but I do want to be an advocate consistently. Yeah.
Yeah, we've been saying to her, are you sure you don't want to have your own channel talking about this? And
No.
she
No,
does not.
thank you. No,
But
thank
we
you.
appreciate you coming on the panels and being in the, in the lives and, encouraging us and enlightening us and sharing your knowledge. So that is very appreciated.
Thanks.
So, okay. So she says, I'm a big fan of, and I think Joe is from the UK, Chiro. Do you know what this is? Inositol blend. Am I right in remembering it's 40-1? Do you know what that is, Mel?
I've heard of a
I'm not going to answer. No, I'm going to say this / is what's getting me about DiChiro. So if Joe's Sleep and Slim Down journey could put specifically what that is, that'd be very interesting because I'm not sure. I know what inositol, but yeah, if you could put that in there, Joe.
Can I also remind everyone to hit the like? Don't
That's
forget
awesome.
to hit the like.
Love the
I love
finger.
that. I love that. Yeah, hit that like and subscribe. How many likes we got? Let's see. 37. I'll like it. 38. Yeah. So everybody, wait. There's more people than that watching. So if you haven't clicked like already,
don't forget.
click like and subscribe. Oh, where'd she?
Did we?
Is she buffering? Buffering. Doris Goody. I started HRT patch with progesterone and started bleeding. Had a DNC. Doctor increased progesterone and started bleeding. Another DNC. Oh, goodness gracious. Put on a combo patch, bleeding again. I may be getting a hysterectomy. Yeah, that doesn't sound good, Doris. I gotta say.
No.
So I hope that
Sorry.
you're working closely with your doctor. So that's good. Yeah. That's a lot. That's a lot. That's a lot. I hope you're okay, Doris. we're all cringing along for you. Yes.
Well, I just learned something today that a DNC is not just for a miscarriage. So I never knew that. I just looked it up because I'm like, what? So it's really just dilation and cutterage. So I don't know why I associated those, but now this makes more sense.
I know people who told me that they had DNCs, and I always would look and say, like, I questioned if they were telling me the truth, but we now know that it's for other things.
Yeah.
Of course.
Yeah. Well, thanks for sharing that. That's
it's good to learn.
A lot. It's a lot, right? It's a lot.
Yeah.
We have to go through so many things as women, and we need to normalize talking about these things so that we all can understand what's happening. The Turtle Diaries weight loss says, I'm totally in the dark on all the HRTs and facing a possible hysterectomy. These doctors aren't doing.
No.
I feel that, I'm with you, Turtle Diaries. We can use AI, we can Google, we can do some quick searches. We can have a list of questions to go into our doctor with. And I guess, like Mel says, we really have to be advocates for our own health. Write down the questions. I had a viewer the other day say, "Oh, I always forget my questions when I go to the doctor, and then he doesn't like it if I call him later with other questions." And I was like, "Oh, girl, write those questions down, right?
Put it in your notes,
I write them down. I text them to myself. That's what I do. And I was going to say that with the Turtle Diaries, I'm going to be talking to her. We just agreed that we were going to chit chat. So I'm looking forward to doing that. We're 3 hours behind, so I feel bad that today kind of our wires got crossed because of this live. But having been through a hysterectomy and counseled some people, I'd like to call it counseling. Just saying, it's not as bad as women think. And I'm of the mindset, well, for me, I would say that if you are not planning on having a child, and you already have children and you're suffering and bleeding profusely and cramping and in pain, you may want to consider it, just because white knuckling it, that's like so 1990s. So we don't have to do that. We
Well,
don't.
I know some doctors are even hesitant to do hysterectomies because what if you want to have more children? What
Yeah.
about, and it's almost like it's my only purpose of life here on earth is to produce
To
children. Like, what about
procreate.
my quality of life? Are we living in the Handmaid's Tale? Not
Right.
yet, thankfully.
Right.
Yeah, so
Exactly. Thank God.
you really have to like make a case for yourself because even if you're young, my daughter has a friend who's not even, I think she's 20 and having severe problems, and she's like, I just want it all taken out. And the doctor says, no, you're too young. What if you ever want to have kids? And she's like, I can't function. I can't,
Right.
what is my quality of life
Right.
like? So
Yeah.
it's a problem. Oh, Diva says, I have to refresh, ladies. I hope we don't lose you. Stand by.
Yeah. We're
And
talking. We're
that's
chit-chatting.
that's another thing, right? That's the reason I got the hysterectomy. It was the bleeding was it was ridiculous. And I know you're not even supposed to go really higher than super, but I was using the ultra. So to use an
I mean, that's what they're
ultra,
for. Yeah.
I tried the cups, like I
Yeah.
tried all these different things, and it got to a point where I was like, this is too much. And then
Yeah.
there was a time, and maybe this is TMI, that it was late at night, I'm changing. I didn't realize I didn't take the other one out, right? So I put another one
Yeah.
in there, and then
Yeah.
I'm noticing, like, days go by, like, something's not right here. Hey, Dee Dee.
Yeah.
He's
I
back.
went in and I was told that that's pretty common, but like it was just so
Mhm.
much that I couldn't even,
Oh,
so
wow.
I didn't want to
Yeah.
use those anymore. But the pads
Yeah.
That
weren't
was
enough.
what that was me, Taisha. I actually had fibroids, and fibroids are basically non-cancerous cysts, or not even cysts, non-cancerous growths on your
Yeah.
uterus. They can be inside, outside, but I was bleeding so heavily, and then I stopped bleeding. My blood levels were like 5. I drove myself to urgent care. My at the time fiance, they called him and was like, we're taking her to the hospital. Her blood levels are low. So the turning point for me was, and I already had a new gynecologist and we were talking. I ended up having to have a blood transfusion that day.
Oh my gosh.
My doctor came, my OBGYN came, and she said, this is it. You have to make a decision about what you're going to do. And she
Yeah.
talked to me and she said, I would never take the opportunity from another woman to have children. I have 3. She said, but if we remove the fibroids, your uterus will be like Swiss cheese. You will not be able to carry a child. So my recommendation is we do a hysterectomy. So we were going to do a hysterectomy and leave the ovaries, but when she got in there, I also had a bad case of endometriosis, and it was so bad that we had to remove everything. And so I wish I had taken action sooner. So for those that are waiting it out for something, I don't know what it is. I don't know what I was waiting it out for. Please don't suffer.
Yeah.
Don't suffer.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's great
Please.
advice. That's great
Yeah.
advice, Mel, because transfusion, I mean, that sounds like you could have died. I mean, that's
Yeah.
And remember, you need blood. I had stopped bleeding, by the way. I had stopped bleeding. You need blood for your heart. It impacts your heart health. When you are bleeding too heavily during periods and because of endometriosis and because of fibroids, you are draining the blood that you need to run through your body and for your heart to function. You are draining that. So it is very important to your heart health as well. So please, if you are suffering, do not continue.
wow,
Please.
that's terrifying. That would definitely send me right to my doctor and to talk about that issue if that were happening, for sure. Yeah.
We have a super chat from Doris. Doris, thank you. She says, great topic is so helpful. I'm glad you're getting something out of it. I appreciate that. Thank you. We appreciate you. So, you were talking about fibroids, right, Mel?
Yes.
I know that's not necessarily menopause, but so many women suffer with that. I mean, Yeah, I had a friend who had one removed that was the size of a grapefruit. And you know how people say that? You just think they're using an analogy. But she actually sent me a picture of it, and I couldn't believe it was inside of her body. And she suffered and suffered for so long, too, with hers before because she didn't want to have the surgery. She didn't really want to deal with it. And so, yeah, I think those things, and then they grow back, right? They grow back. So
They can.
you almost, I know people have had surgery and then they had them again. Eventually, that's why women do get a hysterectomy, because when it seems like the second time they grow, like the second and third time, it's bigger and bigger and bigger. Like they don't get smaller and smaller. So
yeah.
geez.
And what about PCOS? I know a lot of people talk about PCOS and how it's hard to maybe diagnose and how to treat it, and are GLP-1s helpful for PCOS, and what is PCOS? And it just seems like that's kind of related to this topic somehow, but I don't, anybody got any thoughts on that?
Well, it's polycystic ovary syndrome, I can tell you that. And it definitely impacts your metabolic health and insulin resistance. But there are a plethora of different symptoms when it comes to your female or your cycle, let's say. But it's very much tied to insulin resistance and metabolic health. And Taisha, I'm sorry.
It's when your body produces too much androgen, which is a male
There you go.
hormone.
Male hormone,
So, look, I Googled it. I'm not going to
Oh,
pretend
you
like
did?
I know this. Yeah, I was like,
We
okay.
That's good.
researched. You
got
were
a computer
at
right
the
here.
Downsizing Divas Live. We talked about it. You know, we were one of the things I would like to say about that is, I was surprised about the male hormone too. But I really feel like these GLP-1s, if you have that, I think it's going to help you, because it helps you lose the weight. It helps you with the insulin resistance. It helps you with your blood sugar levels. A lot of the people with PCOS struggle with that as well. So I think, eventually, and not now, just like we're learning all the things, it helps. But I think PCOS will eventually be one of those things that can get you approved to be on the GLP-1.
And being on a GLP-1 seems to help people who have had issues with conceiving, right? And I'm not in any way, shape, or form saying that this is what you need to get on, but they tell you, even on Lily's site, when we went through it, you have to change your birth control. Like certain birth controls are not effective while you're taking this. So your doctor, everybody needs to be on the same page. So if you're going through compound and your doctor doesn't know what you're doing, let them know, because
for sure.
that I don't know what it's doing, but people are getting pregnant on this.
They call them Mounjaro babies.
Babies, and Mounjaro babies.
Yeah.
And they used to be called Ozempic babies. So that's what I'm saying. These medications are doing something. So that's why it's important to just, whether they agree with it or not, be honest with your doctors about what you're taking, and everyone needs to be on the same page.
Absolutely.
It's a hormone.
So when I went to my doctor last year, I told her, I'm taking compounded tirzepatide. She went, she would not say a word. She just, so now and then I came back to the doctor this past March. So it'd been a year, and she sees I'm down 50 pounds. I'm like, I'm down 50 pounds. Here's my spreadsheet with all my results. And she's like, oh, wow,
love it.
That's really working for you, huh? Okay, well, let's talk about that for a minute. I'm like, okay, finally.
Thank you.
Yeah, sometimes
that's awesome, Joe.
Hit them over the head with it.
Oh yes, Joe tells us in the UK, GLP-1s are now approved for
sign
on the NHS, which is like their insurance. So,
that's
which
awesome.
Is our insurance. So that's awesome. And I think it will be for us soon here, once we can get through all this red tape and the politics of it all. I think.
And prior to me having issues with weight, my doctor thought I had PCOS, and this is all this during this fibroid time and this whole thing. I just wanted to put that out there. I've spoken on it a couple of times, but again, and I do think, again, guys, let's not forget that GLP-1s and optimized hormones, I call it optimized hormones, is so important. And thyroid too, by the way. You should get your thyroid checked. But I just think it's magic. It's phenomenal. And even for someone like me that maybe had 35, 40 pounds to lose, the weight started coming off of my midsection. And I think a lot of that had to do with GLP-1, obviously, but I also believe that the hormone optimization has been really helpful for me in terms of body recomposition. That might not be important to some people. For me, I want my body to look as good as it can. That's just me. That's what I want. Like, I just want it because I just want it, right? And so,
Right.
and I want to be, but primarily I want to be as healthy as possible, right?
Right.
But a side effect is being able to do the body recomp and, you know, work on my overall health and fitness. And I call it health span. So I don't want just a long lifespan. I want a health span. I want a span of life that's healthy.
Quality.
So what kind of 90-year-old will I be? Right?
Yeah, Mel and I, we were having
Just
a
saying.
conversation about this just today, and we were talking about the importance of being mobile into your later years. And I think a lot of times when people say, I want to live a long life, they don't see themselves as being active in that long life. They see themselves as a 90-year-old sitting around, still being able to talk and move, but not driving necessarily, not, walking around, not grocery shopping. And when we, a lot of us, when we hear someone's 92 and doing all those things, my grandmother was, people are shocked, right? Because they think, oh, they just picture you that way. So we want to spread the message that we want people to be up and mobile in their 90s, which is a health span, not just a lifespan, right? We want people to be up. We want people to be moving. And the only way you can do that is to move, right? You got to move now while you can. You can't wait until, I don't know. I think a lot of times, and even myself at first, when it's been times where I thought, I'm going to wait till I slim down to move. And, it's like, do what you can now, even if you're sitting in the chair. I've sent people here recently some chair aerobics that, say they can't get up because it hurts too much to move when they get up. So now I sent them the chair aerobics. So if they tell me that hurts too much, I'm going to send them some exercise where people are laying down and just pulling their leg up and moving their arm, because it's something you could do, a little bit of something that you can do. And so I think we have to start somewhere, even if it's small. And then you see those gains, you feel good. And then that makes you want to do more and more and more, right? We all start out slow and steady, and then we could take off and run with it. So we do have a super chat. Let's see. Let's scroll down here. We have Kate. Thank you, Kate. She says, I love you for it. Thank you for this live. I am 6 months into perimenopause, and my proc insisted your practitioner, is that what she's saying? Insisted I start HRT before starting Zepbound for my 25-pound rapid weight gain. I am so glad she did. I think that's why my Zepbound journey is so successful.
Nice.
Okay, very good.
Nice.
So you started HRT.
Nice.
All right. I have a feeling before my 53rd birthday, Mel's going to have me on that HRT. Good for you. I love that. Thank you for that. So I hope we've kind of helped, a little bit with, what to expect. So what can she expect, though? Because you guys said you're, the ones that are on it. What can you expect? I mean, I know you said some of the benefits, but like if you were just telling somebody, take Downsizing Diva, you need to take this because you can expect to what?
Sleep through the night.
Sleep through the night. That's a good one. Oh, geez, that's a good one.
Not wake up completely drenched, where your covers, everything, like even sleeping naked, waking up the pillow, everything being drenched, like,
gross.
Yeah. And it was every night. Every night. Yeah.
And you can also you definitely expect the middle section. You'll see some slimming, I believe, of your midsection. You'll see that visceral fat go down faster. I also think that in my experience, just again, very anecdotal, but people that I speak to that are on hormone replacement therapy on this journey, I won't say their names, but they are not really experiencing as much hair loss and skin issues and things like that. So I found, and I don't know what it is about the estradiol and progesterone, but that's what I've learned as well. And they are stronger and more, like they're not really having that many issues with, just laxity. I mean, we all have some loose skin, but I mean, not like other people.
I think it's getting better.
And actually, these two ladies, yeah, yeah, I think Taisha is a great example, and so are you, Lorraine. I mean, yeah,
I've got the long sleeves on today because
I
Okay.
saw you in person. I saw you in person.
Muscles, yeah. Yes, yes, yes. We love that. And
well,
we
I
know,
mean, I
baby.
do think the weight bearing exercises help. You know, and if you're not doing weight bearing exercises, you know, start where you are. I am not a doctor, but all movement is good. It adds up.
Yeah.
But if you can
Yes,
do
it does.
some weight bearing or weightlifting exercises, that's especially if you're over 50, that's just really, you know, kind of what you need to work up to and what you should be doing. From what I understand, I am not a doctor.
And you can do it with the
Hey, Lorraine,
bands. You can use
well,
bands, right?
you can use bands. Yeah.
Yeah,
You don't
resistance
have to
bands are
think
great. Light
weight,
dumbbells are great. You can do, you know, things with your
Body
body weight,
weight.
like push-ups. I'm working on
calisthenics.
doing a pull-up. That's I
Ooh,
go to the gym. There's an assisted pull-up machine that it'll take weight off of your body weight to help you up. It's like a
yeah.
reverse. So I've been working on that. One of the people I interviewed on the channel, that's, you know, what she does. She has a pull-up bar in her house and does some pull-ups. I'm like, well, I don't know where I'd put it in my house, but there's one at the gym. I'll try. But
I was doing, yeah,
you know,
I was
it's
doing
all
that
body
today
weight.
at Pilates. I was doing pull-ups, and I was like, okay, this is good. But oh, Lorraine, I had a question for you. Are you considering possibly doing testosterone low dose, or you
I
don't
mean,
think you need it?
I don't know why I would need it necessarily. I mean, I'm not opposed to it. I think if that's something that works for you, then that's great. I don't know I don't
Yeah,
know
you may
what
not.
benefit it would give me. Like, would it give me less wrinkles? Would it give me, you know, would it help sagging skin? Like, I guess it would help build muscle. Is that the main
Well, that
point?
and Taisha, you take it. I mean, I'm sure you know
It's
as
supposed
well,
to
like the
help.
brain function and some other things. But yeah,
And sex drive, it could
sex
be
drive.
another benefit. So if that's
Yeah.
not a thing for you, then maybe not.
Right. Yeah.
You guys are funny. Don't get
Sorry.
shy on this, Lorraine.
I know. You know, I mean, people, yeah, what, yeah. I mean,
But you know what? Let me
maybe
say
it
this.
would help.
I think this is the reason why that, you know, until here recently when we have your, you know, Oprahs and Halle Berrys and other people, I think this is the reason why we don't talk, women have not talked about menopause, because haven't we all grown up, you know, haven't we all grown up over the years to think you don't talk about your privates, you don't talk about, you know, your breast, you don't talk about those. It's like taboo to say it. And so when you're talking about these things on a public platform, I even still, even I'm not saying it and you were saying it, I'm embarrassed too.
Aw.
And so, but you know, but I'm
Yeah.
learning, you know, we have to kind of, you know, get out of that. We have to talk about our bodies. We have
Yes.
to use words, right? You remember when Oprah used to say
Use words.
vajayjay? Just say vagina.
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
Right. I
People
mean,
don't want to say it.
My
it's
Go ahead.
grandmother
Sorry.
did.
you
Oh,
know, it's
sorry,
hard
guys.
with how you grew up, right? So my mother handed me a book and said, "Here you go." I'm like, what? And you know, but my kids had all this sex education in school in 5th grade here in North Carolina. They get the full Monty, if you will. So, and my girls talk about things very differently than I did, you know, growing up. So I think those attitudes are maybe changing a little bit,
Yeah.
and that's a good thing. So the more that we keep talking about it, it's definitely a good thing.
And we have the internet, right? I don't mean to sound like, you know, some 200-year-old, but we did not have this access when we were younger, right? When I
No.
joined the
Right.
military, that's when I got into IT and computers, but we didn't have smartphones. And so they have so much. The kids now, I don't know, it's kind of a blessing and a curse, right?
Yeah, for
Because there's
sure.
a such thing as too
Yeah.
much information, but at the access of your fingertips, right? You don't have to go to the library, and the
All right.
information is there, and no one talked about it.
I have a computer in my pocket, right?
Exactly,
This
right?
is more powerful than the computer that sent the first men to the moon, right? Hasn't that been
Right, which is
been
odd, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Very odd, but true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And when
So
I
I
was in
do think,
college, there were no cell phones. I when I was in college in the late 80s, early 90s, there was no internet. There was no cell phones. I was one of the few on my dorm floor that had their own computer because my dad was like, he had the Radio Shack one that he was all into.
Trying to
So,
think.
I mean, it's just really, we've come such a long way with technology in the past, 30 years?
Yeah.
I had a beeper. Did you guys have a beeper?
Of course.
Did y'all have a beeper?
Of course.
Yeah.
No?
I
Yes.
didn't have
Oh,
that.
yeah. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, we had
I
a
do
beeper.
remember
Well, beeper was the thing, right? You put it on your little, your side of your
Make sure you put in
jeans or pants.
911. Yeah.
And you say 30 years ago, I remember 31 years ago, I got my first cell phone. My mom bought it for me because it was a 45-minute drive to get to work every day, and she bought the phone, so I could call her, and there was no texting back then, so call her and let her know I made it when I first, until I got used to it. But yeah, so that was 31 years ago. Jeez Louise. And I remember that big back phone, with the big backs weren't what they weren't called. They're not what they're
I had a
called now.
Nextel.
Yes, but
I had a Nextel too.
mine was Alltel. I had the Alltel phone. So, okay, so let me ask. Well, we have another super chat. Jeez Louise. Marjorie.
Marjorie.
Thank you.
Oh, thank
Awesome.
you. Thank you. I hope we are helping you, Marjorie, or you heard something that kind of reinforced. Because I thought, people, may be on their own paths with where they are with perimenopause, menopause. But for me, and I know Bill probably doesn't believe it, but this just kind of calmed some of maybe my fears I may have had. And this also kind of reinforced some things I already knew. I always say, people can get information, but you have to be ready to take it in and actually use it. And so that's why, when you're learning, you got to hear things sometimes more than once, more than twice.
Yeah.
And when you actually teach it, that's when you really know it, right? So I'm learning, Mel. I'm learning. And I do see my gynecologist this summer soon. So I'm going to be talking about this. I might have to FaceTime you, Mel B, and be like, let me get Mel, my advocate, on the phone. So before we wrap this up, and we'd have some other things in the chat, but I wanted to kind of make this connection with GLP-1 because, a lot of the subscribers in the chat are on GLP-1s. And I know, Lorraine, so you started your treatment for the menopause after you were already on the GLP-1, and so did Taisha. But Mel, you did not. So you started before, right? You were on the GLP-1. And so did you notice any differences once you with your protocol, once you got on the GLP-1, were there any changes?
Ladies.
She's asking you, Mel.
Oh, she wants me.
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
They were on it, but they weren't on the medication before.
Yeah. So let's remember that it was a while back because I was in my 30s when I had the total abdominal hysterectomy. So I was on the estrogen patch, estrogen and progesterone. And it's hard to remember because I was in a different mind space when I was in my 30s. But I will tell you that I did, a few months into the GLP-1 start the current regimen. So the testosterone and the bioidentical, the estradiol. And so for me, it's kind of been a joint treatment, if you will. So I believe that my success, I think I've been pretty successful, and I do believe that, my lean muscle mass and things like that are probably escalated. And I do think that optimizing my hormones has helped with that. So yeah, it's hard for me to answer that question because I really was on it prior to GLP-1, but that was back when I had the hysterectomy. So it's hard for me to answer that, but I do truly believe that being on HRT has certainly helped my response to the GLP-1 and my journey and just body composition, those types of things. I think I've been more successful because of my hormone therapy. Yes.
Dee Dee, can I make a couple of quick points?
Sure.
Really
Yes,
quick?
please.
Okay.
Do.
So of course I have some notes here. I looked it up as far as the benefits of testosterone therapy for women, right?
Ooh, yeah.
Okay, so improve libido and sexual function, increase desire and arousal. Oh, wait, hold on. I was like, this is just about sex. Okay, so that's that one. I don't need to go through those points. More stable mood and reduced irritability. So, Lorraine, you may want to,
Yeah.
increased energy and motivation,
Mm.
improved body composition, sharper cognitive function, bone and
Yes.
joint health. So, and it says what it's not for. It's not a weight loss drug. It's not a replacement for lifestyle changes. It's not about getting jacked or masculizing women. Now, the bonus that's here, this is what I wanted to get to. For women on a GLP-1 or for women on GLP-1 medications like Zepbound, testosterone therapy can support lean muscle retention during fat loss, motivation and energy when appetite is low, emotional balance, especially if estrogen is also low. That's all I'm gonna say about it. But these are some really, so in conjunction with the GLP-1, which I didn't ask this anything about that, there must be,
They're just
there's
Yes.
obviously something, there's some sort of study being done somewhere, right?
Thank you for
That's-
laying that out.
So, thank you, Taisha. That was awesome. So, previously when we've been talking about this on our Wellness Wednesdays, GLP-1 medications, they say don't directly treat menopause, which we knew, but they do address many of the symptoms and struggles that come with it, especially around the weight, your metabolism. So I'm just going to put up some quick ones here that we've talked about in the past. And, you guys probably, Taisha said some of these before: improving your sleep and energy by promoting that weight loss. We know that. They improve insulin resistance. They reduce your cravings and reduce emotional eating, which is something I've been going through here lately. And they may improve your cardiovascular health. One of the things I also found when I was doing research is they say, and I don't know, Lorraine, now we know you're on the BHRT, but they say some women report fewer side effects using the BHRT as compared to the synthetic HRT. And of course, that's the synthetic one is the one most insurances cover. So I think, I wonder if there is a way, I wonder how much more it is if you wanted to go that BHRT route. It
Not
doesn't
that
seem like
bad.
it's a lot more according to you, Mel.
No, I don't think so. And I'll provide you some information, Dee Dee, about what I pay for what I have. I also have a different application because the patch from back in the day, I remember, was a pain in the butt. So that's why I wanted the Evimis. And so I chose to pay a little extra for it. But again, I got 3 of the little spray things. And the first one, I just completed that first spray. And I think it lasted me for a couple of months. So yeah. So it's not that expensive. It really isn't. Yeah.
good to
Okay,
know.
so last few questions. What advice would you give to some? Wait 1 second. Wait, okay. I'm sorry. What advice would you give to someone who just is starting perimenopause now? Like you're just going on that stage, the stage of perimenopause. Wait, we have another super chat.
That's what I was going to tell you.
Wow.
Okay. This is wonderful, ladies. Bellflower, thank you. I have some information in my back pocket for later and to go off and share with some of my friends that are in the trenches. Oh, in the trenches. Thank you all for sharing your experiences. Thank you. Thank you for watching,
Aw,
joining us.
thank you, Nicole.
Thank you. She's awesome. All
Very
right.
nice.
Oh, that was the question. Anybody can answer. What advice would you give someone just starting perimenopause? Because I noticed in the chat, we had a couple people who said they wanted to know what should they expect.
I didn't notice anything significant, right? Some people talk about like you can have water retention and I didn't have any of that. Like I just noticed my sleep was improved and not going to the bathroom so much when I got up to 0.1. So for me,
So what did you
when I
start at, Taisha? Because you said when you got up to
0.25. So I was on 0.25 for maybe 6 or 8 weeks. Then I went up to 0.5. And then finally we got up to 0.1. And this plus the testosterone seemed to be again, improve sleep, which for me was a big deal. That's a
Yeah.
big deal. And
Yeah.
there are probably other things that I just haven't noticed, but that was the main one. Not getting up to use the bathroom all night and not waking up completely drenched.
Yeah,
And no more of the super cold flashes either.
cold.
And that's
Yeah.
actually been since I've been on Zepbound. So I don't know if that fixed it, but I haven't had any of those. So that's what I noticed.
Yeah, that sleep is so important. If your sleep is messed up, you're not going to lose weight. You're not going to function. It's just like you can't do anything if you're not sleep. I feel like
Yeah.
if I don't sleep,
Oh yeah.
Me
And then,
too.
and then your
Yeah.
irritability is going to be high just from that,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, exactly. So
Yeah, I consider myself definitely much more high functioning in terms, and this is from a cognitive standpoint. I mean, I work in a environment with a lot of men, and you know, and it's just me sometimes with them, and I'm like, I'm very organized, much more so, and I definitely feel from a body comp standpoint, I just feel better, and I see the weight going in the right places since I started the testosterone therapy. I want to say I definitely think that has helped me in that way.
Yeah.
I'm not in a relationship or anything, so it's hard for me to talk about the sexual desire part of it. I do love the Vagifem. I feel the difference. That inserted. It's just I feel the difference. It's hard to explain, but yeah, it's just I won't go too deep into details about that. Yeah, and I just feel happier and more bubbly. Things roll off my shoulder. Like, so for me, there's been just an overall sort of general happiness and satisfaction with my life almost. It's really odd. And I think that's partially due to GLP-1 and weight loss, but I also think, that paired with the hormone replacement therapy has been great. So yeah, that's how I feel.
Chef's kiss.
awesome.
So
That's
we
awesome.
know you never get the hormones back once they leave. So that means you're on these medications for here till you're in your 90s or however long you want to take them, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and they're not really medications in the traditional sense. So I don't really like to call them that, just like the GLP-1. They are peptides, like GLP-1
So we
peptides
should call them
and hormones that our body naturally makes.
hormones.
Yeah.
That's a great point.
Hormones.
That's a great point. The if your body was making it and now it's not making it, and if you take it, you feel better. Well, why wouldn't you, right? So
Right.
if your body never made enough, like a GLP-1, and you can take a GLP-1 and now you're able to lose weight, I mean,
Yes.
why wouldn't I take a GLP-1 forever? Why wouldn't I? And I don't know about
Right.
hormone replacement therapy. I don't know. I think some studies say you shouldn't stay on it for a long time because maybe your cancer risk goes up a little bit. And then I don't know.
If you
Mel,
start it, what I've read in studies is, and so you make a good point there. First of all, everybody needs to see their doctor, because if for some reason you have a higher risk for breast cancer, et cetera, that's not to say you can't be treated. You may not use progesterone or something like that, but that's different.
Yeah.
My understanding from recent studies is that it's more about when you start it. So if you are more than 15 years post-menopause and you introduce it, is there a higher risk? Is there not, for any types of issues? There could be. So to your point, Lorraine, but what my understanding is, and I'll have to go and double check because I do download these studies on my phone and I'm on my phone, but I believe if you start them, I believe the year, it's like 17 years, some real random time period, which made me question it. I think it's 17 years. And if you are more than 17 years post your last period or the onset of traditional menopause, then that's when you want to have some extra tests and make sure your doctor looks at your history, familial history and things like that. But that's a great point, Lorraine, to bring up. Yeah.
Interesting. Thanks, Mel.
You're
The
welcome.
earlier, the better. I want to mention that again because I think it's important, right? I was told that starting it in perimenopause is actually better than waiting until you're fully in menopause. And it's not that it's not going to be effective, but it's not going to be the same as if you start sooner. So maybe more stuff will come out, but that is what was explained to me by my OB/GYN, that starting it now is actually better than waiting. You don't have as much of a disruption as what you go through when you fully go through menopause.
That's interesting.
That makes sense. Okay, let's go. Let's see if do we have any more questions in the chat, and then we can let's see.
Somebody just instant messaged me. What do they say?
I saw a question.
She says, "Hey Lorraine, joined the live late. However, want to share bioidentical and
Estradiol.
Thank you. Patch and progesterone are generics, which are typically covered by most health plans for symptoms like hot flashes and night sweats. However, once on Medicare, any HRT may not be covered."
Because the system thinks you're old. Why do you need it?
Right.
Just go ahead, dry up, and go into a corner and don't want to be juicy anymore.
Meanwhile, there's Viagra.
That's the system, right?
Yeah.
Just saying.
Just a lot to learn with, and who knew insurance was so damn complicated? Like,
right? I learned about PBMs.
I didn't want to
complicated either until the
PBMs.
Who knew what a PBM was 2 years ago? Not me. I mean, now we're doing dissertations on the evil that is PBMs and how they should. Anyway,
but look how
it's
much
not
we've learned, right? We are learning this because we are, and each of us, the four of us, have had totally different experiences. But I bet there's people in the chat that can relate to all of us that have experienced this. And the more we do things like this, the more people know. I keep saying that live stream Dee did months ago. Well, it was probably last year now, right? That changed my life because
it's been a while.
That made me go back and start pressing the issue again. And I finally got help. So, it's being able to have these open conversations without, feeling embarrassed because we're experiencing this.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, it's so important to have community and have a place where you can come and find information and ask questions. And I mean, that's the amazing thing about YouTube, right? I mean, I'm constantly amazed by the number of people that are on here, the information you can find on YouTube, the community is amazing. So I'm very thankful to be on YouTube.
Me too.
I'm looking for questions. And I don't see if you guys see questions, let me know. And then we can put up comments too, but I'm trying to figure out if I'm skipping a question. It moves down so fast in this chat.
That's why I have Christopher, because he monitors the chat and puts up the questions.
Yeah.
I just keep talking away on our lives. It's hard to manage all the things, Dee. I got it.
Dee, I think in StreamYard there should be a feature, right? If you just type in a Q, will it bring up all the comments that have a Q? Because I feel like earlier I saw some Qs, but like you,
I think.
Oh.
So if I put it in the chat, it'll
like. Is there a search feature? I know with Ecamm, I can type in Q, and anybody that types that, it'll bring all those messages. It'll filter the messages. Can you do that within StreamYard? Okay.
If you can, I don't see anywhere where it says that.
Okay.
Let's
see.
That's okay. I think let's see. A lot of compliments for us. We could start putting those up there. Let's see. I thought I saw one and then I scrolled down. But I love this message. Let's see, let me put it up here. Do you guys, can you see the chat? Can you guys see the chat?
I'm looking at it on my phone.
I have over here on my TV.
Yeah.
Well, Delilah says oral birth control is less effective on GLP. Is that supposed to be ones or twos? Twos. due to the absorption rate of the medication no longer absorbing properly because of the slower digestion.
That's what I was saying earlier. That's why you have to make sure that you're on the same page. And it says it on the Zepbound website that you may have to be switched to a different medication while
Yeah.
you're
Yeah.
on and be tested
Or
regularly.
use like condoms, something. I don't know. Like,
Yeah.
A
yeah,
barrier
watch out.
method. A
Y-
barrier method, right? As opposed to
Unless
a
you want,
Yes.
unless you
a
want to have
pill or
kids, you may want to,
yeah.
switch it up. I didn't know anything
Yeah.
about GLP-1/2s or GLP-2s. I've never heard of that, but what is
What are
that?
GLP-2s? Or did you mean to say GLP-1s?
I think
Yeah,
they
I've
meant
never heard of
GLP.
that.
I think they
Yeah.
It's
I
easy
think
to
so.
make a typo on the
Oh,
in
it's
these
easy to
chat.
do. Yeah.
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 for sure.
I was like, is there something else new that I don't know about?
I mean, I know about a dual agonist and a triple agonist.
Hey,
Yeah.
check it out, guys. I just looked it up. So GLP-2 is a naturally occurring gut hormone
Ah,
produced in the small intestine. It's released in response to eating and primarily helps with intestinal health and nutrient absorption, not blood sugar or appetite like GLP-1. So
interesting. There's
it
other types
improves the
of GLP.
it's for your it improves gut lining health, reduces gut inflammation, and slows gut motility. So and there's
That's neat.
something it's called Gatex that you can take for that, and it's an FDA approved medication called
That's interesting.
teduglutide. So
All these
hey, look at that.
utides and
Right?
Two times.
All about the
Yeah.
hormones.
it's
Now, George says, I
yeah.
thought it was 10 years from what my doctor told me that you would, I guess, go into menopause. I am 12 or 13 years past. I have to look into that.
Oh yes,
Yeah.
do that,
I think
George.
she might be talking about introducing hormone replacement therapy. How long after?
Mm.
I think that's
Within
what
10
that
years of
she may be.
onset. Yeah.
You should do it
Yeah.
within
My
10
doctor
years.
said longer. Yeah.
Perimenopause to within 10 years of menopause onset. That's the ideal window.
Okay.
Now, Joe says her cycle returned.
Oh,
I thought I finally hit menopause, but had 2 periods in the last 8 weeks. So did you go the whole year, Joe,
aw.
and then it came back? Jeez Louise. All right. Does anybody have any more questions? Because if not, we will end. I love this comment by Jerlene. She says, I have limited mobility, which, goes back to my point. And I exercise from bed, chair, aquatic. And that aquatic is very good for
Yeah.
those joints or not being
Yes.
able to move as much. And PT, keep moving, ladies. I love that. Very
Yes,
Thank you, Darlene.
That's
Yes.
good, John.
Keep it moving. All right. Did Joe answer? If not, I don't see any more questions, then we could call it a night. I'm just going to put up some of the compliments that I see up here. I saw one for you, Lorraine, from Geraldine. Where did it go? I thought this was funny. I would faint from the fibroids. Oh, she said I would faint from the fibroids. So I thought she meant she would faint, like just the thought of them. So you actually had fibroids that made you actually faint. I've never heard that.
Wow.
Have you guys heard that?
You're so. Yeah, I've heard it.
Have you?
Wow.
I never experienced it, but I know I felt very lightheaded at times, and I'm assuming it was because the fibroids drained all the blood out of my body, and my blood levels
Yikes.
so low.
Jeez,
That's what I
Louise,
think.
that sounds so painful. Like to sucking the blood out of the tissue and all of that. Jeez, Louise. Let's see. Did Joe answer us? I was trying to find Lorraine's comment, but maybe I can't.
That's okay.
That's
I'll
okay.
look
Yeah,
at 'em. Oh,
we're scrolled down.
Jerlene,
Yeah.
I see it. I see it from Jerlene. Thank you, Lorraine,
Yeah,
for
I thought
always
that was
bringing
sweet.
voice to the many platforms that you support in this community. Oh, thanks.
Aw.
And
That's nice.
people ask us that all the time. Like, why do you have other people on your channel? Why do you go on the? Well, why not? I mean,
Right.
like we're all in this community, right? We all can learn from each other and
Absolutely.
talk about stuff. So I'm happy to chat on any platform, on all platforms. So.
All right. Any of you lost your cycle after the GLP-1?
I mean, I kind of feel like that happened to
Technically,
me, but I don't know if
yeah.
it was causation or just happened at the same time. But I
Okay.
mean, it's hard to say, right? It's some people say, "Oh, the GLP-1 made me start my period again. Oh, the GLP-1 made me stop my period.
Yeah.
Oh, the GLP-1 made me had a baby." Um, so it's, I think it's definitely those hormones are definitely being regulated by this, and how it
Yeah.
affects you is just something you need to work with your doctor on and figure it out, because there's a lot. And this is
Yeah.
JoJo, my cat JoJo. She likes to come and be on
Oh,
camera.
JoJo
Hey,
had to get
JoJo.
in the scene.
Yeah, JoJo was like, I got to make my appearance. Yes.
Cerberus would if he could. That's why he's in there.
I saw him back there. He was busy.
JoJo.
Okay, so we have a question. It says, if if I have a uterus and cervix removed, do I have to be concerned about vagina prolapse?
Vaginal
don't know.
prolapse. I don't
Yeah.
know. I would hate to answer it because, yeah, I would talk to a doctor.
Yeah, that
I
sounds
don't
so
know what all
painful
that.
too.
I don't know how all that's related, but it must be related somehow, right? Because you don't want anything to collapse.
Yeah.
Must be
The
important.
answer is
Yeah.
yes.
They must be able to do things to reconstruct or put things up there to help, but I have no knowledge.
That's a good question.
Yeah.
The answer is yes. Vaginal prolapse. Look, guys, I'm a typing queen, okay? Specifically,
Taisha.
vaginal vault prolapse happens when the top of the vaginal canal collapses downward due to lack of support, right? And it can still happen after a hysterectomy if the ligaments and connective tissue aren't properly reinforced during the surgery. So they can weaken over time, and then the vault can drop. So the answer is yes.
That sounds so painful.
It does. It does.
Yeah.
To reduce your risk really quick, there's 4 things. Pelvic floor therapy, avoid chronic straining, use estrogen therapy if postmenopausal, and then strengthen with, is it pronounced Kegel or Kegel? You guys know what
I
I'm
say
talking about.
Kegel.
I say Kegel.
Okay,
Yeah.
so that or Pilates-based core workouts. So there are things that you can do to prevent that.
My Pilates.
To reduce your chances, but yeah, and okay, the last thing, when to see a specialist. If you ever notice a bulge, pressure, or something falling out, you need to see a urogynecologist or a pelvic floor physical therapist. And it's common and treatable, especially if it's caught early. So Doris, don't stress. Just, you want to stay on top of that. So if you think something's going on, get seen.
And I've heard about that. I've heard about the physical therapy for the pelvic floor and how that is super important. Hormone therapy actually does help with that too. So just as an FYI, I do know that because I read it. So, but again, yeah.
And specifically estrogen therapy.
Estradiol in particular is excellent for that. So just FYI.
Now, do you ladies laugh, or do you ladies, thanks you, Taisha. Do you guys ever laugh or giggle and then you have to go to the restroom
prior to losing weight?
Comes out?
Yes. I had urgency issues, so I was struggling pretty bad with incontinence, as embarrassing as that is. That was a thing. I could sneeze, I could cough, I could laugh. And it wasn't even about urgency. It was just like, and I was told, oh, well, you've had 5 children, so that's just something that happens. Okay, but it doesn't happen anymore. Yeah. So, and that was after losing maybe that first 30 pounds. I haven't experienced that.
I think your strength training might be helping with that also. Before COVID, I went to this like a CrossFit type gym, and we did jump rope. And I remember when I first started doing the jump rope, I would pee a little bit every time I, did those jump ropes. But in time, I tightened them up, or like Kegels, like doing that. So there are exercises that you can do to help that, and I think because you do all the weights, Taisha, so.
And those exercises need to be done regularly, right? Once a month, that's not enough. These are things that you could do every day, and you could do them in your bed. So it's not even a matter of you don't have time. you could wake up in the morning and do these things,
Yeah.
right? Before you go to bed. So we have to make time. We have to make time.
Yeah,
That's
like
right.
I
It has to
those
be a priority.
pelvic exercises are, you would think, I feel like when you go to the doctor, they should be handing those out as a pamphlet on your way out. Like, this is what
Yes.
you need to do, because it really isn't a lot. It's just like you said, Taisha, I think the hardest thing for us in anything is having that routine and being consistent. And a lot of
Yeah.
times, if you're not really passionate about an area, because the things I'm passionate about, I do consistently, there's no stopping it. And when you're not passionate about something, you might, do a dabble, like skincare. Like, I dabble here and dabble there. I'm not passionate about it, so it's not that big of a deal. But if it was something I was passionate about, I would do it consistently. And so we kind of got to make this health, journey a passion and do it consistently, whatever that means. Putting up a schedule, putting it on your
Yeah.
fridge, putting it in your car, establishing that routine and those habits. Yeah. All right. Well, it has been 2 hours. Can you believe it? I feel like it went by so fast.
I feel like it did
Yeah.
too.
By so fast. Thank you so
Yeah.
much. This was so informative. I learned a lot. Did you guys learn? We're on a panel.
did.
I
I
learned a
learned
I
lot.
did too. Yes. Absolutely.
More content to research and make, because like these were some good points.
Exactly. I'm looking
And
forward
it's
to
things we're all going through, no matter, how our ages are different, we're
Yeah.
different, we have this diversity of thought, and we have the diversity, the way we look, but we have this in common, right? This whole menopause
Yeah.
and the GLP-1 journey. So I thank you guys for being a part of this panel. That you were awesome. Thank you to the chat. Thank you to everybody that's watching. We appreciate it. If you have any questions, put them in the chat. I'll go back and check it out. And you can email us, and Mel is like the health advocate. If you want to know anything, contact Mel.
Yeah.
If she doesn't
Stop.
know,
Stop.
she can, yes,
No,
Mel, if she doesn't know, she will find that information out
Yep.
for you. So we appreciate that. Thank you,
Thank you.
Taisha. I don't know. Taisha is I call her she's my techie friend in this in these YouTube streets. She can figure something
It's
out
good.
in a heartbeat. If I have a tech question, I know I could call her. So thank you for that, using that tech to answer some of our questions there.
Thank you.
All right. Well, thank you guys. You guys have a good night. And I won't
Thank
say
you.
good night.
Thank
I'll say see you
you.
in the next video. See you on the
Thanks
next
for
vlog.
having us, Dee.
We'll see you
Bye.
tomorrow.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Downsizing Diva, and I'm here to stay. Feeling good, taking my GLP-1s.
Okay.